We all have ideas that we hope will change the world one day, but most times those ideas stay hidden in a notebook, somewhere, a project file on your computer on the cloud, or a prototype that you created and then forgot about. Often, these dreams give way to the reality of life, to the daily hustle of just existing and surviving. We start families, we raise kids, and we build homes. And as time goes by, these dreams, these ambitions, these desires of ours are forgotten and then never seen again. Every now and then a dream finds its way from the past and resurfaces to haunt us and remind us of the things that we did wrong, or the things that we did right, but at the wrong time. So grab a coffee, a cup of tea, and a notebook, and let's dissect one of my failed projects and figure out what we can learn from it. This was a project that I really loved, that I was really hoping would be the next best thing.
To slow the ride, discover books I forget about.
Welcome to PathFinder.
Somewhere between 2004 and 2006, I obsessed night and day over this project that I was building called PathFinder. PathFinder was this insanely ambitious plan to digitize and map Uganda, the entire country, primarily for business and tourism purposes. But the big, hairy, audacious goal was to get GPS trackers, put them on boda-bodas, the motorcyclists, let them loose across the country and collect that data over time. What I then planned to do was to get that data and plug it into this gorgeous interactive mapping system that I had built. It was as ambitious as it was ridiculous, and I was building it in Macromedia Flash, the original, before Adobe bought it. Since I was a Flash and design guru, the entire thing was really pretty. I mean, back then it was like really gorgeous design, and I loved it. But also because I was a perfectionist, and I still am to an extent, the thing that I was obsessing the most over was how cool and gorgeous and interactive and visually appealing the entire thing needed to be. I was haunted by little details, like making sure all the pixels were aligned well, the animations were breathtaking, and that the zoom functionality worked flawlessly with pixel perfect precision. I can't even remember how much time I spent trying to align pixels instead of getting the code right. And therein lies the first lesson. You have to move fast, you have to break things, you have to learn and keep improving. My obsession with visual perfection cost me. I'm still a perfectionist, but right now I like to practice something that I call chaotic perfectionism. You have the perfect destination in mind, right? But you give yourself permission to build features. You allow yourself to explore the possibilities of features, and then you come back and clean up the visuals. That way you can roll out, test, and get user feedback, and it becomes faster and more useful. But it also leads to excellence, and it leads to continuous improvement, which is a far more achievable target than perfectionism. Speaking of code, at some point the code became a little too much for me to handle on my own. So I tried recruiting people to help build it, but I didn't have the money to pay them. And I really wasn't too sure how long it would take before we could get someone to invest in it. And so I continued tinkering away on my own. I would spend nights up working. Because of my design background, I knew the packaging was going to be the best ever and the product launch would be phenomenal. I even had these dreams of a full launch event at a movie cinema, complete with a customized soundtrack. I knew exactly who was going to make it. It would be this gorgeous interactive experience that would have a 360-degree tour powered by QuickTime virtual reality. To get a picture, just imagine standing in the middle of the city somewhere and rotating the view to look around, and then you click on a building and you jump to the next location. Those are the kind of things that I was coding into PathFinder. Or imagine standing in the middle of a game park and exploring everything around you with little pop-up icons of data for animal information, tourist hotspots, etc. It was just Yeah, I was crazy hyped about PathFinder. It was going to be my magnum opus, and I wanted it to be perfect. I couldn't imagine a weak product or a weak product launch. And yeah, that was lesson number 2. Your first product is going to suck like you would not believe. It will embarrass you, it will break in the worst possible way at the worst possible time, and you will want to die. But that's okay. You have to keep moving, you have to keep improving. You can only get better. And remember to ship. Put your product out there, let people diss it, stress it, break it, etc. It's all feedback. Launch the rocket, watch it burst into flames, get the data, and build a better rocket. PathFinder's build process was meticulous. I started keeping detailed logs of everything. I actually found both the notebook and the project file on CDs, and that's what I'm using mostly in this video right now. But even though I worked on this project over the course of 2 years, with massive breaks in between, it was still easy for me to open a file, check the logs, and know exactly where I had stopped. And this is lesson number 3. Keeping detailed, organized files is something that you can never take for granted. Almost all of my files are meticulously named and organized. I can find projects and files from as far back as 2003. Every once in a while, I'll pull out a drive and go through all projects just to remind myself of how far we've come and to appreciate the journey, however difficult it has been. I have found myself looking through CDs and just finding old pictures of me and my friends and former employees looking back right now, I'm like, man, those were the good old days. But just being able to have that information is just something that allows you to go back in time. It's almost like a time capsule. It allows you to go back in time and just remember things. Anyway, eventually the demo was ready and I started trying to get people to invest in the idea. I worked my network and eventually got enough interest to pitch to a few rich people. Because I thought the idea was very cool, because I assumed everyone would be interested in investing and making all of the money, because I could see in my mind the tourism and advertising dollars. And so it all seemed so obvious to me. But I went to pitch after pitch and I got rejected meeting after meeting. And this was back in the day when there were no venture capitalists in Uganda, where tech investors or incubators were unheard of. The only investment dollars that you could find in this country were from local businessmen whose idea of an investment was a building that they could physically touch, a factory that they could visit, or an office, a farm, a shop that they could sit in. Technology investment was relatively unheard of. And even then, it was still within a few elite circles. And that brings me to lesson number 4. Bootstrap as much as you can. But if you get an opportunity to get funding, take it. But do your due diligence. Make sure that the person that you're talking to, the investor that you're talking to, is aligned with your values, that they understand who you are and that you understand who they are as a person. It will save you from needless grief, and you will be able to find that you can work together with your investment partner for a much longer time. However, something interesting happened, and I didn't include this the first time I shared this story. An investor that I met was actually interested, but I wanted him to sign a non-disclosure agreement before I could show him the product. And I know now, looking back, that that's where he started losing interest. I don't think we spoke much after that. And that's a sort of lesson as well. Non-disclosure agreements are a tricky situation. There are two sides of this particular issue. On the one hand, many venture capitalists and investors will not sign NDAs because the implementation of the idea is more important than the idea itself. On the other hand, unique and highly secretive projects would require an NDA. In my case, my need to develop this NDA potentially lost me this investment. And in retrospect, I really didn't need one. The person that I was talking to did not have the interest to hire a team and oversee the development of the product himself. Eventually, I gave up on PathFinder and I shelved the project. A year or so later, Google came to Uganda and they launched Google Maps locally. The rest is history. Google Maps has basically covered the entire country and all the regions that I'd hoped to reach. To this day, I keep wondering if I could have sold the GPS data to Google if only I had started with whatever means that I had. So lesson number 6. What are the additional revenue sources that you're missing? What other uses do people have for your tools, your systems, your services that you're not seeing? Things that if you took a deeper look, you'd pivot to instantly. Find the unicorns by studying data and by studying patterns. look within your industry and try to future project. What's out there that could be the next big thing in the next 5 years? And how can you align yourself towards that big thing? So for me, granted, it was technically impossible for me to do anything because of the sheer financial and logistical challenges that it would have required to roll out PathFinder at that time. But also I was running another company at the time and struggling to meet monthly payroll. So there wasn't much time to goof around and mess with a whole new project. And that's, kind of lesson number 7, which is not necessarily a lesson, but kind of a note. It is so much easier to start now than it was back then. Servers are cheaper, code is simpler because they're more abstracted, computers are more affordable, the internet is so ridiculously fast and cheap compared to back then. You can easily build teams across the world. And so if there's an idea that's keeping you awake at night, chances are that you can start working on it right now without even quitting your day job. But this advice is only given on the assumption that you're diligent and honest enough to execute all of your duties at your primary workplace and on your project on the side without compromising the quality of it. Because think about it, if your project succeeds, you will be an entrepreneur and you will hire people. Would you want to hire someone who's giving their side project more time versus what you paid him or her to do? And as I end this video, I want to add 2 last lessons that have stayed with me over the years since I finished the PathFinder project. Lesson number 8. Give yourself permission to fail. Nothing prevents us from getting started like the fear of failure. I've found that these days I'm getting a little bit more and more cautious than I used to be, and so I'm hoping that I can work on that. That ice cold feeling of dread you get when you think about the things that could go wrong, that is holding you back. I know this more than we realize. And trust me, everything will go wrong. The world is chaos. People mess up. Get over it. Just keep pushing forward. Things will happen. What matters is how far you can go and how hard you can push yourself. And lesson number 9, above all, keep your dreams alive. They could be significantly more valuable than you think. So until next time, onwards and upwards. Solomon King out. Peace. Cheers, man. See you guys next week.